When we talk about overall health, we have to start with the body because the body is the vehicle that carries everything else. Your thoughts, your emotions, your goals, your purpose, all of that runs through your physical system. And yet, this is where most people are the most confused. We've been told that health is about calories or quick fixes or pushing harder in the gym. But the truth is much simpler and much more profound. Physical health is about balance, recovery, and giving the body what it was designed to work with. Your body is incredibly intelligent. Every second, it's regulating hormones, repairing tissues, balancing blood sugar, detoxifying and producing energy. But it can only do that job well if we stop overwhelming it. One of the biggest stressors on the body today is constant sugar and refined carbohydrates. When blood sugar is high all the time, insulin is high all the time, and that puts your body into storage mode instead of repair mode. Over time, this leads to fatigue, inflammation, weight gain, and chronic disease. So when you remove sugar, even temporarily, you're not depriving your body, you're giving it relief. Movement is another foundational piece. I'm not talking about punishing workouts or living in the gym. I'm talking about regular, consistent movement that signals to your body that it's alive and needed. Walking, light strength training, stretching, these improve circulation, insulin sensitivity, and oxygen delivery to tissues. When you move your body, you're not just burning energy, you're activating healing mechanisms. Muscles release anti-inflammatory compounds, joints stay lubricated, and your metabolism stays flexible. A sedentary body becomes stiff and inflamed, but a moving body stays young. Sleep, however, may be the most underestimated factor of all. You can eat perfectly and exercise daily, but if you're not sleeping, your health will eventually collapse. Sleep is when your body resets hormones, repairs the brain, strengthens the immune system, and stabilizes appetite. Lack of sleep raises cortisol, increases cravings for sugar, and disrupts insulin. That's why people who don't sleep well often feel hungry all the time and rely on caffeine and sweets just to function. Deep, consistent sleep is not a luxury. It's a biological requirement. Then there's nutrition quality, not quantity quality. Your body doesn't recognize food labels, it recognizes nutrients, vitamins, minerals, healthy fats, amino acids. These are the raw materials for hormones, enzymes, and cells. When you eat real whole foods, especially nutrient-dense foods, your body feels satisfied and calm. Cravings decrease naturally. When you live on processed foods, even if calories are controlled, your body remains malnourished and stressed. That stress shows up as fatigue, anxiety, inflammation, and illness. Preventive care is another piece people often ignore until something breaks. The body gives warning signs long before disease shows up. Low energy, poor sleep, digestive issues, brain fog. These are signals, not inconveniences. Paying attention early, making small adjustments, and supporting the body before things get serious is real health care. Waiting until a diagnosis is not prevention, it's damage control. And here's the key thing to understand. Physical health is not separate from mental or emotional health. When your blood sugar is unstable, your mood is unstable. When your gut is inflamed, your brain is inflamed. When your body is exhausted, motivation disappears. You don't think your way into better health. You build it from the ground up, starting with the body. When you support your physical foundation through real food, better sleep, consistent movement, and reduced sugar, everything else becomes easier. Energy improves, focus sharpens, emotions stabilize, and cravings lose their grip. You're no longer fighting your body, you're working with it. And when the body is finally supported, the way it was designed to be, health stops being a struggle and starts becoming your natural state. Now, once the body starts to stabilize, something very interesting happens. The mind begins to calm down. And this is where a lot of people finally have that moment of clarity. Mental and emotional health are not separate systems floating above the body. They are deeply rooted in chemistry, hormones, and nutrition. You can't outthink a biochemical imbalance. You can't meditate your way out of chronic blood. Another overlooked piece is mental clarity. Brain fog is not normal. Forgetfulness, difficulty concentrating, and low motivation are often signs of inflammation or insulin resistance in the brain. Sugar plays a huge role here. Excess sugar can inflame the brain and disrupt communication between neurons. Remove it, and many people describe feeling like a veil has been lifted. Thoughts become clearer, decisions easier, and focus sharper. That clarity feeds confidence, and confidence feeds emotional resilience. We also have to talk about emotional awareness. When the body is constantly overstimulated, emotions feel louder and harder to manage. But when the nervous system is calm, you're able to respond instead of react. You don't snap as easily. You don't spiral as quickly. You gain space between a feeling and an action. That space is powerful. It's where better choices live. And it's much easier to access when the brain isn't under metabolic stress. Social connection plays a role too. When mental health improves, relationships often improve naturally. You're more patient, more present, more engaged. That positive feedback loop strengthens emotional well-being even further. Isolation tends to decrease when energy and mood rise. Health, in this sense, becomes contagious, not just for you, but for the people around you. And here's something important to understand. Seeking support is not failure. Whether it's talking to someone you trust, changing your environment, or learning how your body actually works, support is a strategy. The strongest people are the ones who recognize signals early and respond intelligently. Ignoring mental and emotional symptoms doesn't make the go away, it just pushes them deeper. When you support the brain through proper nutrition, stable blood sugar, quality sleep, and stress reduction, emotional balance becomes much more natural. You stop fighting your thoughts. You stop feeling hijacked by your emotions. You start feeling like yourself again, clear, calm, and capable. And when the mind is finally supported by a healthy body, emotional strength stops being something you chase and starts becoming something you live. As the body becomes stronger, the mind clearer, and daily habits more aligned, something else begins to shift: how you relate to other people. Social health is not a nice extra, it's a biological need. Human beings are wired for connection, and when that connection is missing or unhealthy, the body feels it just as much as the mind does. Loneliness isn't just an emotion, it's a stressor that affects hormones, immunity, and even lifespan. When someone is socially disconnected, stress hormones tend to stay elevated. Cortisol remains high, inflammation increases, and the immune system weakens. Over time, this creates the same internal environment as poor sleep or bad nutrition. On the other hand, meaningful relationships send a powerful signal of safety to the nervous system. When you feel supported, understood, and connected, your body shifts into repair mode, healing accelerates, energy improves, even digestion works better. What's interesting is that social health often improves naturally as physical and mental health improve. When blood sugar stabilizes and energy rises, people become more patient, more present, and more emotionally available. They listen better, they react less, they show up differently. Relationships that once felt draining begin to feel easier, not because the other person changed, but because the internal state changed. Communication plays a major role here. When the nervous system is overstimulated, conversations tend to feel tense or defensive. But when the body is calm, communication becomes clearer and more compassionate. You're less likely to take things personally. You're more likely to pause before responding. That alone can transform relationships. Emotional regulation isn't about suppressing feelings. It's about having enough internal stability to express them appropriately. Community is another key piece. Being part of something larger than yourself provides a sense of purpose and belonging. This could be family, friends, coworkers, or even a shared interest group. Purposeful connection stimulates dopamine and oxytocin, chemicals that improve mood, motivation, and resilience. These aren't abstract concepts. They're measurable biological responses that protect your health. There's also the quality of relationships to consider, not just the quantity. One supportive relationship can be more beneficial than dozens of shallow ones. Healthy relationships are those that energize rather than drain you, that encourage growth rather than reinforce stress. Sometimes improving social health means setting boundaries. Not every relationship deserves unlimited access to your energy. Boundaries are not rejection, they're protection. Another overlooked aspect of social health is giving. Acts of kindness, service, and contribution activate reward centers in the brain that reduce stress and increase well-being. When you help others, your own nervous system benefits. This creates a feedback loop where connection strengthens health and health strengthens connection. Now, let's talk about isolation in the modern world. Technology has made communication easier, but connection harder. Constant digital interaction can give the illusion of closeness while actually increasing emotional distance. Face-to-face interaction, tone of voice, and body language matter. They regulate the nervous system in ways text and screens can't. Making time for real connection, even briefly, has profound effects on emotional and physical health. Social stress is also real. Conflict, unresolved tension, and toxic dynamics keep the body in a constant state of alert. That stress doesn't stay in the mind. It shows up as tension, digestive issues, headaches, and fatigue. Addressing these dynamics, whether through honest conversation or distance, is not selfish. It's a form of self-care. And here's something important. Asking for support is not weakness. It's intelligence. No one is meant to do life alone. When people suppress struggles instead of sharing them, stress compounds. When struggles are shared with the right people, stress dissipates. The body relaxes when it knows help is available. As health improves across all areas, relationships become both a source of strength and a reflection of internal balance. You attract healthier interactions when you operate from a healthier state. Social health doesn't require perfection. It requires presence, honesty, and connection. Because when your relationships support your nervous system, instead of stressing it, your body gets the message that it's safe. And safety is where true health begins. As relationships strengthen and stress levels begin to drop, there's another influence on health that quietly shapes how your body and brain function every single day, your environment. And I'm not just talking about the air you breathe or the water you drink, although those matter. I'm also talking about the digital environment you live in, the information you consume, and the constant signals your nervous system is exposed to. Your body doesn't distinguish between physical stress and mental overload. It responds to both the same way. Let's start with the physical environment. The body is designed to thrive in clean, natural surroundings. Poor air, quality, chemical exposure, artificial lighting, and noise pollution all place a burden on the nervous system and detox pathways. When the body is constantly filtering toxins, energy that could be used for repair and healing gets diverted. Even small changes, improving ventilation, reducing chemical cleaners, getting outside more often, can significantly reduce this hidden stress load. Sunlight is another powerful environmental factor. Natural light regulates your circadian rhythm, which controls sleep, hormones, metabolism, and mood. When you're exposed to sunlight during the day, your body knows when to produce energy and when to wind down. Lack of natural light confuses this system. That confusion shows up as poor sleep, low energy, and hormonal imbalance. Something as simple as stepping outside in the morning can recalibrate your entire day. Now let's talk about digital exposure, because this is where many people are unknowingly exhausting their brains. Constant notifications, endless scrolling, and information overload keep the nervous system in a low-grade stress response. The brain never fully rests. Even when you're physically still, mentally, you're stimulated. Over time, this leads to anxiety, poor focus, irritability, and sleep problems. The brain was never designed to process this much information without pause. Screen exposure, especially at night, also interferes with melatonin production. Blue light signals the brain that it's daytime, delaying sleep and reducing sleep quality. Poor sleep then feeds back into hormonal imbalance, cravings, and emotional instability. This is why people feel wired but tired. They're overstimulated and under-recovered. The solution isn't eliminating technology, it's using it intentionally. Setting boundaries around screen time, especially in the evening, gives the nervous system a chance to reset. Creating tech-free zones or periods allows the brain to switch from stimulation to restoration. When that happens, focus improves, mood stabilizes, and sleep deepens. Information consumption is another form of nutrition, and most people are on a junk information diet. Constant exposure to negative news, comparison-driven social media, and high-conflict content keeps the stress response activated. The brain interprets repeated negative input as threat. Reducing exposure to mentally toxic content doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means protecting your nervous system so you can respond to reality intelligently rather than emotionally. Noise is also underestimated. Chronic noise exposure increases stress hormones, disrupts concentration, and interferes with sleep. Silence, on the other hand, allows the brain to process, integrate, and recover. Even short periods of quiet during the day can have a calming effect on the nervous system. The brain needs moments without input to stay healthy. Nature plays a powerful role here as well. Time spent in natural environments reduces cortisol, lowers blood pressure, and improves mood. The body responds to natural patterns, trees, water, fresh air, with relaxation and balance. You don't need hours in the wilderness. Even brief, regular exposure has measurable benefits. And here's the deeper point. Your environment is constantly sending signals to your biology. Those signals either tell your body it's safe or that it needs to stay on guard. Safety allows ailing. Constant alertness prevents it. When people optimize their environment, physically and digitally, they often notice improvements they couldn't achieve through diet or exercise alone. Environmental health isn't about control or isolation, it's about awareness. Once you become aware of what drains you versus what restores you, better choices become obvious. You start designing your surroundings to support your nervous system instead of overwhelming it. Because when your environment works with your biology instead of against it, your body finally gets the quiet signal it needs to heal. Once the environment begins to support your nervous system instead of draining it, everything comes together at a deeper level: personal responsibility and prevention. And I want to be very clear about what that means, because responsibility is often misunderstood. This isn't about blame. It's about empowerment. It's about realizing that your body is constantly communicating with you, and you actually have the ability to listen and respond before problems become permanent. Most chronic conditions don't appear overnight. They develop slowly, quietly, over years of small signals that are ignored, fatigue that's brushed off, poor sleep that becomes normal, digestive issues that are dismissed as stress, weight gain that's blamed on age. These are not random events, they're early warnings. Prevention begins the moment you stop ignoring those signals and start asking better questions. Your body is incredibly honest. It tells you when something isn't working. Low energy means energy production is compromised. Brain fog means the brain isn't being properly fueled or protected. Cravings mean hormones are out of balance. Pain means inflammation or structural stress is present. These symptoms are not enemies to suppress. They're messengers to understand. When you treat symptoms as information instead of inconveniences, everything changes. Taking responsibility also means educating yourself, not becoming obsessed, not chasing every trend, but understanding the basics of how your body works. When you know how blood sugar affects hormones, how sleep affects appetite, how stress affects inflammation, you stop making choices blindly. You stop outsourcing your health to guesswork. Knowledge creates confidence, and confidence leads to better decisions. Preventive care doesn't start in a doctor's office. It starts in your daily life. Regular movement, real food, sleep, hydration, stress management, and environmental awareness are the first line of defense. These habits reduce the need for intervention later. They don't replace medical care, but they dramatically reduce how often you need it. Prevention is proactive, not reactive. Another key aspect of responsibility is consistency over intensity. Extreme changes don't last. Sustainable habits do. Your body doesn't need shock, it needs support. Small adjustments made consistently create long-term resilience. Skipping sugar most of the time is more powerful than eliminating it perfectly for a week. Sleeping well most nights is more effective than occasional recovery. Health is built through patterns, not heroic efforts. Monitoring your health is also part of prevention. Paying attention to how you feel after eating, how you sleep, how you recover, how your mood fluctuates. This is feedback. Your body is running. NG experiments every day. When you observe the results, you gain insight. That insight allows you to adjust early instead of reacting late. There's also responsibility in knowing when to ask for help. Prevention doesn't mean doing everything alone. It means recognizing when something is beyond self-correction and seeking guidance before damage occurs. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. The goal is not independence from support, but intelligent use of it. One of the biggest shifts happens when people stop identifying with their symptoms. You are not your diagnosis. You are not your fatigue. You are not your anxiety. These are states, not identities. When you take responsibility for the conditions that created those states, you regain control. The body is adaptable, but only when it's given the right signals. And here's the most important part: responsibility gives you freedom. When you understand cause and effect, you're no longer confused. You're no longer chasing fixes. You're making intentional choices based on how your body responds. That sense of agency reduces fear and increases motivation. You're no longer hoping for health. You're participating in it. Prevention is not about living cautiously. It's about living consciously. It's about making today's choices with tomorrow in mind, not out of fear, but out of respect for your body's design. When you do that, health stops being something you react to and starts becoming something you build. Because the moment you take ownership of your health is the moment your body starts working with you instead of against you. Once the body and mind start working together instead of against each other, the next piece become. It's much easier to understand. Your daily choices matter more than any single event. Health isn't something you do once in a while. It's something you practice every day, often without thinking about it. And the truth is, most people don't fail because they don't know what to do. They fail because their habits quietly pull them in the opposite direction. Healthy lifestyle choices aren't about perfection. They're about consistency. It's not what you do occasionally that shapes your health. It's what you do repeatedly. Every choice you make either supports your biology or stresses it. When those choices are aligned with how the body actually works, health feels natural. When they're not, health feels like a constant uphill battle. Let's start with one of the biggest silent disruptors: stimulants and substances. Excess caffeine, alcohol, nicotine, and processed foods all stimulate the nervous system in ways the body was never designed to handle daily. They may feel helpful in the moment, a boost of energy, a sense of relief, but over time they drain the system. The adrenal glands become exhausted, sleep quality declines, and cravings increase. The body begins relying on artificial stimulation instead of natural energy. When people reduce these inputs, they're often surprised by how much calmer and steadier they feel. Then there's the power of routine. The body loves rhythm. When you eat at consistent times, sleep at consistent times, and move regularly, your hormones synchronize. Digestion improves. Energy becomes predictable. Mood stabilizes. Chaos in your schedule creates chaos in your biology. A stable routine doesn't limit freedom, it creates it. You stop reacting to crashes and start operating from a place of balance. Food choices are a daily vote for either inflammation or healing. Highly processed foods are engineered for taste, not nutrition. They overstimulate appetite, disrupt gut bacteria, and confuse hunger signals. Real food does the opposite. It satisfies, nourishes, and sends signals of safety to the body. When people switch to whole foods consistently, cravings don't need to be fought. They fade. That's not discipline, that's physiology correcting itself. Hydration is another simple habit with massive impact. Even mild dehydration can cause fatigue, headaches, poor concentration, and increased stress hormones. The brain and muscles rely on proper fluid balance to function efficiently. Drinking enough water supports circulation, detoxification, and energy production. It's one of the easiest lifestyle choices to improve, yet one of the most commonly overlooked. Movement throughout the day also matters more than people realize. Sitting for long periods slows circulation, stiffens joints, and reduces insulin sensitivity. Even short breaks, standing, stretching, walking, sends signals to the body that it's still active and alive. You don't need extreme workouts to be healthy. You need regular reminders to your body that movement is normal. Another lifestyle choice that often goes unnoticed is exposure. Exposure to light, screens, noise, and information. Constant screen time overstimulates the brain and disrupts sleep rhythms. Artificial light late at night suppresses melatonin, making it harder to fall and stay asleep. Stepping outside, getting natural light, and disconnecting from constant stimulation help reset the nervous system. The brain needs quiet just as much as it needs input. And let's talk about discipline versus punishment. Healthy habits should support you, not exhaust you. When habits feel punishing, they don't last. Sustainable health choices feel grounding. They give you energy instead of draining it. They simplify your life instead of complicating it. When something improves your sleep, mood, digestion, and energy all at once, that's a sign it's aligned with your biology. What's important to understand is that lifestyle choices compound. One small change might not feel dramatic, but several aligned choices create momentum. Better sleep leads to better food choices. Better food choices lead to more stable energy. Stable energy makes movement easier. Movement improves mood. Mood improves consistency. This is how health builds, not through willpower, but through alignment. And here's the encouraging part. No matter where you're starting, one better choice today begins the shift. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. You need to stop doing the things that are quietly working against you and start doing the things that support how your body was designed to function. Because when your daily habits finally align with your biology, health stops feeling forced and starts feeling inevitable.